Hi beautiful people, it's a pleasure to welcome you back to my channel. I'm Jimmy from mygraphic.design, and today in this video I'm really excited to announce you the launch of my new series called What the Field. The idea was originally to create one video per field that Pro Forms from Bricksforge proposes. Unfortunately, while I was recording the video, I figured that it was very repetitive and actually quite uninteresting if I'm honest. So I scratched the full things and here we are, with a new version of my What the Field series. And so what are we going to be doing? Well, basically we're going to be creating some very simple forms at first and going over time to more advanced form and more advanced fields as well, and explain you exactly how those fields works, how you can connect them. But first, for today, we're going to be creating a very simple form. We're going to go through 3 fields: the text field, email field, and message field, and we're going to go through the submit action. Simply, no fluff, no complicated settings, just a very simple form out of the box. Well guys, I'm excited. I hope you're too, so without further ado, let's just dive in. So if you just purchased Bricksforge or just start to use Bricksforge, it's important to know that you have to activate Pro Forms, right? So we're first going to go into Bricks in the left-hand side panel. Then you're going to go into Bricksforge, obviously. Once you're in Bricksforge, we're going to go to Elements and we're going to go all the way down. And as you can see here, it's already toggled on my side, but we have the Pro Form. If you click on it, you can see that there is a setting icon that appears here on the right. Well, if we click there, then you have some options. Use HCAPTCHA. Oh God. And or use turnstile, right? But that's not what we're going to be looking into right now. We're going to be looking today, as I said, as a very simple form. Once this is activated, you will see it appearing into the element structure in the Bricks Builder. So that's what we're going to be doing. So I already prepared the page. As you can see, I have a section and a container. We're going to click on the container and we're going to click here on the top, add an element. We're going to go down where we see Bricksforge, and here it is. And we're going to see Pro Forms. You just click on it and it will automatically add a Pro Form to your container. Okay. Here, as you can see, we have a text field, an email field, a TextArea field, and a submit wrapper, which when you open, you can see the submit button. This is pretty straightforward. We could delete everything and just do it from scratch, but I mean, it's there and it won't change a thing by us just adding it. So we're going to go into the Pro Forms and we're going to look a bit at the settings of the Pro Forms. As you can see, there is a lot of options on the side, and this is just the surface basically, because once you go into each of them, there is so many options that you can choose from to make your form as dynamic, as crazy as you want actually. So today we're just going to go over the very simple settings of the Pro Forms, right? The global field settings, what are those? Right, well, here it basically affects all the fields in the form. Okay, so if you put a field as required and want to show the asterisks globally, then you can just click here on show required asterisks. Same with show labels, right? For now, none of our fields are actually required, and this is explaining why we do not see any asterisks coming up, okay? Here, it's the styling of the form. So let's say, for example, if you have an asterisk, you can choose the color, you can choose the size, etc., etc. And same for the label typography, the placeholder typography. So we're just going to put a color here so you can see the idea if we put some fields as required. And here you have label typography. Let's click on it. Let's just change the color and we're going to put that green. As you can see, it automatically updates in the back end. And then as the placeholder typography, just click there. Same here. You can just change the color and basically the placeholder, I'm going to put a placeholder somewhere, but a placeholder is a text that's appearing here right before people actually start typing into those fields. So here we have the submit button. As you can see, there is only 2 different settings. We're not going to go over those today because we do not need them. In terms of actions, the actions are exactly what it means. This is basically where you choose what your form will actually be doing. So here we have email because we want to send an email. But as you can see, there is way much more. Let me go down. There is way much more options that you can choose from. And this is the magic basically of the full Bricksforge Pro Forms. Just because for the fun of it and because it's an easy tutorial, we're going to add another action, and we're just going to add the confetti action. I mean, why not, right? Here you have a success message. You can change it as you wish. Whatever. Here you go. Okay. Of course, you do not see it because this message will only appear at the end when the form is submitted. Okay. Ignore conditionally hidden fields. All right. But that's something that we're not going to touch today, and action conditions neither. Now we can go next. It's the settings for the email. And there is something important to remember is that this form appearing on your website is actually supposed to send you an email, right? So when you go to email, that email, specific email, is sent to you and not to the person that's filling in the form. Obviously, you can change that. This is the behavior by default, but you can change it, okay? How can you change it? Well, in those settings. But I'm saying this because right under, we're gonna see email confirmation. And I've seen that some people can get confused on who is actually supposed to receive what email and what email confirmation. So we're gonna go over this. First, in the email, you can set the subject of your email. Here in that case, it's just simply written contact form request, but you could put anything you want. And then it is sent to the email address. And as you can see, the default behavior is sending the email to the admin email, which in that case is this email for me, right? But you could have the option to change it to something else. Let's say you do not have to receive an email every time this form is sent. Then you can just click here, custom email address, or even more interesting, dynamic email address. But for today, we're going to stay to the admin email address. So the BCC email address now is basically the blind copy. And here is whether you decide to have someone receiving a blind copy of that form submitted through the front end of your website. If you leave it empty, it won't be sent to anyone, obviously. If you put an email address, it will be sent to that email address. The from email address, I would suggest you put your own email address since it's your website and it's coming from your website. From name, well, as you can see here, it took the name automatically from the website that I'm working on. You could put anything, obviously. I would recommend to put or the initials of your business or put simply just the name of your business. Reply to email address, well, we're going to be doing it in a second, but basically we're going to be connecting this email field to that reply to email address option. And that will allow us to have automatically, if we click on the reply into our email software, we will be able to answer that person that sent the form. The email content, here it's written as old field. You could change it. Basically, we could take the custom IDs of any fields of those, and we're going to be doing it later, and add them there and just customize some text, right? Here, if you click these, you could basically refresh that every time you make a change or add an extra field. Personally, I don't do it, but also because I simply use the email designer most of the time. So I have my text and the data that I want to send to my clients straight away into the email designer. And therefore, I don't per se need to have this option. If something would go wrong while filling in the form and submitting, then you can see here that you can set up a submission failed message, and you can have your email show as a HTML email and ignore attachment if you want so. Here we arrive at the confirmation email, and that's the part where some people get confused actually, because this email can have different purposes. I mean, if it's a booking form, you want this email to be sent to the customer, right? But that's not the logic behind it. This email here will be first sent to you. And if you want to send a confirmation email to someone else, you're going to be clicking here. So once you're in confirmation email, basically you do not have to add it into the actions, right? It does not appear. So it's not something that you can select. It will always be here if you choose for the email action. Okay. And this email then, if this first email is meant to be sent to you, the confirmation email will be sent to the person filling in that form. In that case, whoever writes in the form. So here we could put a subject, whatever that is. We could send to a specific email address. The from email address, basically the default is the admin email. And why is that? Is that because, like I said, this email is supposed to be sent to the customer and not to you. Okay, so automatically from the email address will be your own email that you have in your admin. From the name, well, you can put any name, and the email content works the exact same as what we have here. Same in my case, and today we're not going to go into the confirmation email too much, but I do use this email confirmation in combination with the email designer from Bricksforge. Okay. Next, here, obviously we chose in the actions to have the confettis. So we also have an option to set up our confettis. And as you can see, there is different possibilities. So we're not going to go through all of them. We're just going to choose basic, whatever. Spam protection. We'll go back to this a bit later in another video. And then you have notifications, show notifications in the builder. This is when you have the notification set up and if you want actually to style them. So you can style them right here, which is pretty cool because it can kill the design of your website or the feel of your website if you have something that is a bit basic. Anyway, we're not going to take care of that today. And we have a multi-step and then we have other. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly go over other because there is recently some people that have been looking to disable those notifications actually, right? So how to do this, to disable them, you just have to go to other and simply click on disable submit messages. If you toggle that on, they will not appear anymore. And as you can see, they just disappeared because they're not active. Okay, cool. And that will be it for today. The rest we'll be looking at it later in other videos. Awesome. So now we're going to go into our text field and we're just going to click here simply. We're going to go to general. And as you can see, there is quite some settings. And those settings actually don't change too much from one field to another. There is a little tweaks here and there, obviously, because the options and the functions are different. But basically, it's about the same. So it's pretty basic. Once you go to general, and that works for most of the fields, you will have the custom ID right here. And for the sake of simplicity and to be sure that we know what we're talking about, and if we have to call back some custom IDs into formulas later, I would advise you to get used to change those because those have no meanings. But you could say, for example, name pattern. It's something that we will check as well in another video. Here, the label is the name of the label. So here it's name. So, but you could put anything. So please fill in your name and it will appear right there. The value of that field. So here we don't really have to set anything since the value is going to be set up by what the customer is putting into this field. And show label. So here, if you click, you can see the label is going to be disappearing. It does not disappear here. Let me just save that and refresh. And I think it will be not showing anymore. Here you go. Okay. So there is a little trick. If you see that when you click hide label or just here, you untoggle the show label, then you can just refresh and it will not show. If we just click here, we save again. But here we do not have to refresh. It actually automatically appears. So here we have the width and by default, it's set to 100%. Okay. And what does it mean? It's going to take 100% of your container, the space that you have into this container. If you want it shorter, this is where you could do it, but this is not really the right way. I'm going to explain you why. So we're going to put at 50%. Okay. But as you can see, the block or the div containing that field is actually still at 100%. Okay. And that's going to be a struggle if, for example, you would wrap that into a block and have it at 50% and the second field at 50%, they would basically end up being 25%. Okay. So what I'm talking about, let me show you. So we're going to put this at 50%. This is the wrong way to do it. We're going to put the text at 50%, put the email also at 50%. Up to there, we could say, okay, great. If we wrap them into a block, both of them are going to be side by side. Well, first of all, not because our block is the direction is not set to horizontal. So we're going to do this. Here we go. So that's what I was saying. Because we set up this to be 50%, okay, and we put that into a block, which had to be divided in two. So the full text field will become automatically 50%. And so if you have your width set up at 50%, it will only show half of it. Okay, so simply how to fix this. Just delete that and same into the email. Okay, here we go. And obviously you would have to put some column gap in the middle right there, and you would have your fields side by side. Okay, cool. Next, because we have some settings to finish into the text. So we have the width, great, we just saw that. Now we're gonna have the required. Is it required, yes or no? That's your decision. But if you want so, then you can just toggle that on. You could eventually add an icon. Never did, but you could eventually. It will add right there. So here, for example, boom. And it's appearing right here. Okay. You could disable that field if you decide to not use it for a while, or it's a temporary option and you don't want it there. You could just disable it. Okay. And here we have a placeholder. Remember earlier we set up some colors for the placeholder? Well, that's here. So let's put placeholder. And if you remember well, we chose actually the orange color, which is reflecting here. Awesome. Okay, now we have the autocomplete. The autocomplete, it means what it means. If you want this field to be auto-completed, you know, when you use a browser, you usually have your data saved in there. You could just say, okay, I want it to be auto-completed. And so I want there for people to have their name. Boom. And that proposition that will come from their browser will be their name. Okay. Strip HTML, we'll go back to this. Max lengths, that's, let's say, okay, pretty random, but let's say I don't want names that have more than 8 letters, then you would put max length 8, and people will not be able to write more than 8 letters into that. Makes no sense in that case, but who knows. And you can add a CSS class to that field specifically if you need to tweak it further. Okay. The rest, basically, we're just going to leave it as it is for today. The video is already starting to be long, but I want it to be as clear as possible. Then we have the email field. As you can see, this is pretty much the same as what we have. Here we have a custom ID that we're going to change to email. And we have the pattern. We'll come back to this later, not in this video. The label, email. The value, whatever. The show label, yes or no. The context, the width, the required, yes or no. The icon, disabled, placeholder. You can see it's exactly the same as what we just had into the name. All right, so we're going to go directly into the message. Message again is pretty much the same. All right, so here we're just going to put message. Okay, if you come to use some hyphen here, the underscore, I would suggest you use the underscore. Why? Because if you use the email designer and you use the tweak function there, it will not work, right? So this is important to remember. It's a tweak bug. It has nothing to do with Bricksforge itself. It's just the way it works. Might be tweaked in the future. For now, it is the way it is. So remember to just use the underscore. It's actually better if you use the email designer. If you don't, then just use the hyphen. Okay, so what are the differences with the rest? Pattern is the same, label is the same, value is the same, show label, context. With here, we have a change. We have height. Because as you can see, we have here an area. Okay, this area is actually draggable. So you could actually drag it and make it bigger, or at least the user on the front end would be able to do that. But the height still helps you if you say, okay, I just want this to be 100 pixel. Okay. Or I want it to be 20 rem. And here you go. You have your field. Again, we can drag it, make it bigger, more or less. But here you go. If you refresh your page, it will come automatically to the default setting of what the field should be. Okay. So let's go back into our Pro Form, select our text area. And when we go to general, so we've seen the height. That's the difference compared to the two fields we had first. And the required is the same. So I'm just going to take that, leave it at the default. Required, as you remember, we can just make it required yes or no. Then we have the icon again, disabled, placeholder, autocomplete. Doesn't really make sense in that case because it's a long message. And usually we expect people to write something. It's not something that's pre-registered in their phone or anything. Then you can strip HTML. Max length characters. This is really cool. This existed already, but the next option is just came out with the 3.0 version of Bricksforge. But here you could say, okay, I don't want more than like 100 characters in that. Okay. Or you could keep the same as X, for example, and just decide that each message should be not longer than 140 characters. Okay. And here we have new options. And when you toggle that on, you see you have a new options coming here right under, and you could click on it and to the max length. So first of all, this is exactly telling you where it's going to be appearing. So you could have it inside right there. You could also just have it below the field. All right. Here you have some text, and obviously you can change that text as you wish. What's important to remember are those. Without these, that's not going to be able to work. Then you can change, of course, any sort of styling, padding, margin, counter background, counter border, counter box, etc., etc. You could just go wild in terms of styling, and that's the power of Bricksforge actually, because it's so well integrated with Bricks Builder. Gives you the option to actually do anything you want in terms of styling, or most of it. I'm not going to say anything because probably some people would counter me and say, I can't do that. But you get the feel. You could do a lot of things, and definitely more than a lot of forms plugins that I've seen up to now. Now we're going to go to the submit button, and it's pretty straightforward. As you can see here, we have the label, which we're going to leave with the text submit. Then you could add an icon. As you can see here, I added this one already. We could position it to the right, to the left. It's up to you, and depending on what you're like. You could change the size automatically straight from there. Style, same. You could go for primary, secondary. This is really much more if you have your button set up in your theme styles right here. Okay, if you have your buttons set right, where are they? Buttons here. If you have these fields in, basically you can just use that right here. So your primary style, secondary style, etc. That's pretty cool. I haven't done it on this site. This is a test site, so for me it doesn't matter. Loading icon if it's needed, CSS class, and if you want to style, you have to style it from here. So for example, here you could go and say, okay, I want this one orange, and I want the typography to be white. So we're gonna go with, where is my text white? Here, text light. Here we go. And you could just tweak the full thing the same way as you tweak anything else in Bricks Builder. Cool. And you could add the padding, border, and transform. But how does it look in the front end? So we're going to go here and boom, here we go. As you can see, we have a placeholder. I'll put my name. Whoops. If I know how to type my name right, then we're just going to add an email. Here we go. And then we're going to put a message. This works perfectly. So we're good. Submit. Boom. And we have the confettis appearing. Right? That's pretty awesome. One last thing we need to do is to set up that email field into the email setting of the Pro Form. So we go back to Pro Form, click on Pro Form, go to email, and where you see reply to email, we're just going to put curly brackets 2 times, close them as well. And here our email field was called email. So we're going to simply put this right there. Okay. Save it and you should be good to go. Now it's time to go back to the front end, test your email, see if you receive it. If you receive it, then you're good to go. I cannot show you the email myself because I'm doing my tutorial on a local environment, and that explains that the email cannot be sent out. So that's it for this What the Field video. This is the first one. I hope you enjoyed it. We're going to be going through so much more into the next videos and over time. And thank you so much for your support. Like this video, share it if you have some friends that are just starting with Bricksforge. And until the next time, stay sexy, keep spreading love, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye guys!